Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets, and today we're going to be talking about my quarantine reads. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I am your host, Brent. We are here in the man cave in 2020 during the COVID-19 quarantine. Florida has a stay-at-home order right now. The governor just said everybody stay home for the next month. My county has been in one for at least a week and a half. I've been working from home for at least 3 weeks, so there's a lot of spare time on the hands, maybe in between meetings or, when I'm on the toilet or the kids are sleeping, lots and lots of time because you're running out of video games to play or you've gone through that Netflix queue or you're just looking at your bookshelf like I do over here sometimes and go, man, there's a lot of stuff I need to read there. So we're going to go through some of those. I don't have everything, my entire stack. A couple of them are multi-volume runs. I've just got one or two to represent them. But these are some of the things that I might be reading during the quarantine. So let's talk about it. Let's go through them. And maybe it'll give you some inspiration on what you want to read, whether you can check it out from a library if they'll mail it to you, or if you've got a library at home like I do, or you want to go out and get it digitally like I have tons of stuff on digital on iPad that I can read as well. So let's jump through it. So the first thing on my list here, this is the Origin 2 Deluxe hardcover. It is larger, oversized art than the regular one. So I bought this from a discount retailer, Ollie's or something, and I have not read it yet. I have read the story before, but I haven't read this particular hardcover. It's oversized art, Adam Kubert, which means if I'm going to read this, the sequel, I might as well reread the original. This is also the Kuberts. I think this is both Adam and Andy. Nope, Andy. So one brother, second brother. So that's kind of nice. They are different writers, though. This is Kieran Gillen. This was Paul Jenkins. This is from 2004. This came out before the X-Men movie came out, and they, Marvel wanted to define Wolverine's origin before the movies did, so this is what stemmed out of that. Written by Paul Jenkins and Adam Kubert, who then got, I think, a DC exclusive artist still. Maybe that's why they got his brother Adam to do the sequel. So they have a very similar style, so their artwork kind of blends together sometimes. If you've read the Ultimate X-Men line from the early 2000s, those issues they were doing, Adam and Andy, maybe one was doing pages swapping or breakdowns and then finishes and inks, who knows. So this is a good 1-2 punch. This is a direct sequel to what happens in this. And if you can tell by the back, Sabretooth makes an appearance, or what we think is Sabretooth. So another premiere hardcover I have not read yet. This is, or not premiere, deluxe hardcover, oversized. This is Superman Unchained. This is Scott Snyder and Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and I think Alex Sinclair. Yeah, on the colors. This is a great, great artwork, I guess you would say. Not really a great story. The one thing I was interested in, I remember buying the single issues when this came. No, I didn't buy a single issue. I saw one, but I did have the digital issue. But issue 1 or 2 had this big pull-out poster. Yeah, and it was I think it was 6 pages. So I was wondering if they were going to do that here in the deluxe edition. And sure enough, they did not. Absolutely, they did not even try. I've seen some versions of the All-Star Batman trade where they do the pull-out, because that has a long 8 or 9 page pull-out of the Batcave drawn by Jim Lee. And this was kind of the next thing he did after that. So they did a 6 page poster, and it's a big space battle. So what they did here is they just turned it sideways in the book. So you have this image with some gutter loss, unfortunately. And then on the other side of the poster was this great image of Superman, which he looks funny now because, as I said, this is in the first issue. So there's not a whole lot of room to show his, I guess you're missing his belt or the bottom of his chest. But if you can find this image, it's a great image of Superman. So this is Superman versus Lex Luthor versus this new guy, Wraith. And it's just, probably one of the better New 52 Superman stories up until Rebirth or Superman Reborn. I think this is up there. because I didn't really feel like they knew what they were doing with Superman before then. I didn't really love the Grant Morrison stuff in Action Comics. I did a video on these two. These are new trade acquisitions replacing old ones. And I had looked through them and done a video on them, comparing them to the old versions. This is Bruce Wayne Murderer and Bruce Wayne Fugitive from the Batman line. I have not read these new editions yet, so I know that they have full issues versus, parts of issues from the old trades. And I haven't read this story in probably a good 7 or 8 years, so this would be a good read. Two thick trades take a while, but I love this story. It's a really good story. Some really good writers and artists in here. This is the big one. This is just one of these books. There is a 9-volume set. Remember the spines all line up with the 3 different bat symbols from Nightfall. We have Nightfall, we have Night Quest, and then Night's End. And each one of those titles represents 3 trades. This is volume 2 of the Nightfall. So I have Prelude, volume 1, volume 2, then Night Quest 1 through 3, then Prodigal and Troika. Yeah, and Night's End. So this is a lot of stuff. A lot of good 90s comics, lots of Asbats, lots of Bruce Wayne getting the back broken, some Bane in this one. One of my favorite stories. I should actually read this first because I've never read all the Asbats issues, and they are all collected now, which is a great thing. So I do need to read this because I've been waiting too long, honestly. I started collecting the single issues and was going to bind them myself at one point before these were collected. Then they had the old trades, the thicker ones that you might see around Barnes & Noble still, but those didn't have the Search storyline in them, and now finally they're all here, so I need to read them all. Following up on that, I need to read this trade. I have not read it yet. I have read Sword of Azrael already. This is the first 4 issues in this volume, but this is Azrael Fallen Angel Volume 1, which is probably Volume 1 of 1. It contains Sword of Azrael 1 through 4, and then skips ahead in Azrael's time to the first 7 issues of his solo series, drawn by Barry Kitson. All written by Denny O'Neil. So, I guess this didn't sell, so they're not going to do Volume 2 or 3 or 4, which is a bummer. But I do have a nice collection now of some Azrael stories, which is always cool. I love Azrael. So I've read the first 7 issues. I had those in single. Another thing I was going to do, bind them myself until this came out, and then also until I got rid of all my single issues. So this would be a fun read. And if I like this, I might start picking them up digitally. I've got a bunch of stuff digitally, odds and ends from Azrael I've read digitally over the years. Another collection of trades that I did not pull all of them out, but there are 4 volumes. And I have The Road to No Man's Land. So really it's 6 volumes of No Man's Land branded trades I have to read. I've never read the No Man's Land trades. I did reread Cataclysm a couple months back, so I can read those, or I have that fresh in my mind. But how they got to No Man's Land and then everything thereafter in these new nice trades with the new paper and the new format, extra issues, all that stuff, should be an interesting read during the quarantine. I got a lot of stuff I need to do. I should stop watching Netflix. This one is a cool little story, Batman Gates of Gotham. I've read all these, I think, digitally, but I saw this on travel where it was like $3 at a Books A Million discount, so I just grabbed it. It's Scott Snyder is kind of the plotter, but it's really introducing Kyle Higgins to the comics world. He does most of the heavy lifting here. And this is like a Gotham's past comes back to haunt him from the ancient, sets up who the ancient 5 families of Gotham were. One of them were the Waynes, one were the Elliots, one was the Cobblepots, all that stuff. And what they did back in 1800s. So you have some flashbacks in here. What's also cool is you have Cassandra Cain as Black Bat. You have Tim Drake as Red Robin running around in here. There he is. So this is pre-New 52 stuff. And then New 52 happened, and then Scott Snyder kind of jumped in. And I need to reread this to see how much he took from that and put in his Batman run. Another deluxe hardcover I have not actually read. I have never read this story either. This is Camelot 3000. This is 12 issues, single stories all right here. This is Mike W. Barr, who got famous on Batman, and then Brian Boland, who did this, and some 2000 AD, some Judge Dredd, but he is famous for the Killing Joke storyline that he did with Alan Moore. So this is 12 issues. This is some King Arthur's knights go into the future kind of thing. There's spaceships and swords, and I've heard a lot about this on the Comic Geek Speak podcast back in the day, and I've never read it. And I like Brian Boland, and I've read some Mike W. Barr, and I liked it. But it's 80s stuff. It's not current, so we'll see how that holds up. But it doesn't look like there's a bunch of narration caption boxes or anything, or thought bubbles. It looks pretty straightforward. So it should be interesting. It's not recolored. I think it is like, it's got the standard like full fill coloring from you had back in the day. So it is a little bit updated, but there's no like shading or anything too extravagant coloring to make it kind of weird that how it's old but it looks new that you've seen on some of the maybe other trades. Another one I bought on discount, Matt Wagner, Trinity, issues 1 through 3, all in here. This is a deluxe hardcover, oversized if you would. I need to do it. I think I did a video on this, but it's got this wonderful cover, and then the back's the same as the cover, which is really cool. I don't know why I took the dust jacket off. But this is Matt Wagner doing all the writing, all the art. I love this story. I love Matt Wagner's kind of simple style. This is, these three meeting for the first time, a version of it anyway, and then going up against Ra's al Ghul. So it's a cool storyline. I highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, go pick it up. Another thing I've picked up recently, I did a video on highlighting it. I've read these in singles, but I wanted the hardcover because I thought this was going to be like an evergreen. And I got the Barnes & Noble exclusive version with Superman on the cover instead of Batman as a zombie. But this is Deceased. This is by Tom Taylor, who wrote Injustice, the comic book series, which I love. So I'm pretty much in love with Tom Taylor. This is an alternate universe story where the anti-life equation comes to the DC universe and takes over everybody. So it's like Marvel Zombies meets DC using their anti-life equation as the kickoff. So not quite zombies, but they're just kind of controlled to be zombies. They can be killed. Mess up that dust jacket. And lastly, this one I need to do a video on. This is the Black Label oversized, super wide, super tall Superman Year One. This is by Frank Miller. Art by John Romita Jr. This is the Frank Miller covers, obviously. And then you got John Romita Jr. doing art in here. This is beautiful, gorgeous, and lush. It's just been sitting on my nightstand for quite a while, but I have not read it yet. So I need to check it out. I don't know if it's good Frank Miller or bad Frank Miller. Or so-so Frank Miller. We will see. We shall see. Batman's in here. Looks like there's some mermaids and stuff in here. This is definitely a brand new take on Year One for Superman. I don't think this is going to be near as definitive as some of the other ones are. So that is my to-read list for quarantine, the physical versions anyway. What are you guys going to read during your stay-at-home or your quarantine, your COVID-19 2020 days that hopefully are coming to an end here soon, shortly? Everybody stay home, flatten the curve, all that, wash your hands, all that stuff. So hope you guys are good out there. Please like this video if you liked it. Thumbs down if you don't. Let me know down below in the comments what you're going to read, what's on your to-read list, and what you're going to knock out during your time at home. So stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.